From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, this is Dateline Malacañang, and here are the news. On the top story, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. on Tuesday inaugurated the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW's Bagong Pilipinas One-Stop Overseas Filipino Worker or OFW Action Center, calling it a symbol of the government's commitment to providing fast and efficient services to OFWs. Located at the DMW Makati building along Malugay Street in the town of Bel Air, Makati City, the center centralizes and offers full-cycle support for OFWs and their families and will remove the complication of bureaucracy for migrant workers. The services cover every stage of the migrant workers' journey, from departure and overseas employment to return and reintegration into their communities. The center's major services include balik manggagawa processing, reintegration support, legal assistance, and other aid through the DMW Action Fund. It also houses services from other government agencies such as the Social Security System or SSS, Pag-ibig Fund, PhilHealth, Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA, and departments like Agriculture, Health, Labor, Trade, Tourism, Science and Technology, and Social Welfare. A notable feature of the center is Migrants Brew, a cafe providing free coffee and snacks to visiting OFWs and their families. In his speech, the president said this is a symbol of faster, smoother, and integrated service for OFWs. The chief executive added that the one-stop OFW Action Center aims to make the process easier, from reintegration and legal assistance to counseling and other necessary services. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. during the event.
May isang kwento tayong laging naririnig na hindi naluluma, hindi nawawalan ng halaga. Ito ang kwento ng ating mga manggagawang Pilipino sa iba't ibang bansa. Sila ang mga kababayan nating handang suungin ng lahat ng hamon. Basta para sa kanilang mga pangarap, para sa kanilang pamilya, mabuting oportunidad at maayos na kinabukasan para sa mga mahal sa buhay. Ngunit, saan man sila nakakarating, dala-dala nila ang init at diwa ng pagiging Pilipino, ang pagiging masipag, mapagmalasakit, at laging inuna ang kapakanan ng kanilang pamilya. Sila ang nagiging tulay sa pagitan ng kanilang bagong mundo at ng bansang iniwanan nila pansamantala. Sa kabila ng hirap, sakripisyo at pagkakalayo sa pamilya, hindi nila nakakalimutan ang kanilang pinagmulan. Kaya naman, mahalaga na kahit gaano man sila kalayo, maramdaman nila na may gobyernong handang salubungin sila sa kanilang pagbabalik. At ito ang dahilan kung bakit tayo nandito ngayon. Ngayong araw, masaya kong ipinapahayag ang pagbubukas ng itong Bagong Pilipinas, Agarang, Kalinga at Saklolo para sa mga OFW na nangangailangang Action Center at ng bagong opisina ng Department of Migrant Workers dito sa Makati. Ang Action Center ay hindi lamang isang opisina. Isa itong simbolo ng mabilis, maayos, at pinagsama-samang serbisyo para sa ating mga OFW. Layunin nito gawing mas madali ang kanilang proseso mula sa reintegrasyon, legal na tulong, hanggang sa pagsasana at iba pang serbisyong kailangan nila. Kasama rin dito ang tinatawag na Migrants Brew, ang isang espasyong magbibigay ng libreng lugar para makapagpahinga ang ating mga kababayan habang ini-enjoy ang kape at mga pampalamig. Isa itong maliit lamang na makabuluhang hakbang na nagsasabing salamat, salamat, salamat sa inyo. Ang bagong opisina ng DMW dito sa Makati ay special. Ito ang karugtong ng kanilang central office, nakaposisyon ng maayos upang mas mabilis na matugunan ang mga pangangailangan ng ating mga kababayan sa Timog NCR. Hindi lang ito opisina, isa itong one-stop shop na naglalaman ng mahahalagang serbisyo para sa ating mga OFW. Ang gusaling ito ay magbibigay ng frontline services tulad ng pagproproseso ng dokumento ng mga balikbayan, OWA membership, renewal, iba pang mga serbisyo na hinahanap sa ating DMW. Bukod dito, makikipagtulungan din ang Action Center sa iba't ibang ahensya tulad ng PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, SSS upang masiguro mabilis at walang aberya ang pagkuha ng mga dokumento at benepisyo sa ating mga kababayan. Sa madaling salita, aalisin nito ang komplikasyon ng burokrasya at gagawing maayos ang sistema para sa ating mga manggagawa. Sa ating mga OFW na nagbabalik bansa, sa halip na maaabala pa kayo sa mahabang pila at magulong proseso, bubungad na sa inyo ang maayos at mabilis na sistema upang makuha ninyo ang serbisyo, benepisyo at programa ng ating pamahalaan. Gayon din, para sa isang kababayan nating magsisimula ng paglalakbay bilang OFW, matutulungan kayo dito sa bawat hakbang sa inyong pag-apply. Simula sa kontrata, legal na proteksyon, hanggang sa pagsasanay. Tinitiyak natin sa bawat sulok ng mundo, may gobyernong handang tumulong sa inyo. Hindi po sa gusaling ito nagtatapos ang aming misyon sa napaglingkuran ang ating mga OFW. Kasabay rin ng pagsulong ng makabagong teknolohiya, inilunsad natin ang tinatawag na eGov.ph app. Ito po ay inilunsad ng gobyerno para mas mapadali, mapabilis at mapalapit ang serbisyo namin sa inyo gamit lamang ang inyong mga smartphone. Gamit ito, maaari na po kayong makakuha ng birth certificate, driver's license. Pwede na rin kayo magbayad ng buwis o kaya man ay makakuha ng impormasyon ukol sa status ng loan ng mga GSIS o ng SSS. Mas mabilis din ang pagdeklara sa e-travel pass ng inyong biyahe palabas o pabalik ng Pilipinas gamit ang eGov.ph app. Ang mga hakbang na ito ay hindi lamang pagbuo ng mga gusali o simpleng paggawa ng mobile application. Ito rin ay may mga simbolo ng ating larangin na magkaroon na ng bagong Pilipinas. Sa ilalim ng ating pamahalaan, tinitiyak natin na ang bawat Pilipino, lalo na ang ating mga manggagawa sa iba't ibang bansa, ay makaramdam ng malasakit at mabilis na serbisyo mula sa ating pamahalaan. Para sa bawat Pilipino. Isang bansang hindi kailangan lisanin pa para makahanap ng disenteng trabaho. At para sa mga pumipiling magtrabaho sa ibang bansa, sigurado silang buo ang suporta ng pamahalaan. Habang patuloy na tinatahak ng ating mga manggagawa ang mas malalayong pampang gusto nating masiguro, ang kanilang uuwiang bansa ay mas maulad, mas maganda, at mas maayos. Naway, ang sentrong ito ay magsilbing paalala na ganun man kalayo ang kanilang narating o kataas ng kanilang naabot, ang kanilang bayan ay laging naririto upang salubungin sila. Sa ating masisipag at matatapang na OFW, tandaan ninyo, nandito ang inyong gobyerno para sa inyo. Patuloy tayo magtutulungan upang buuin ang isang bagong Pilipinas. Sama-sama nating itaguyod ang kinagbukasan, puno ng pag-asa, pag-unlad at pagkakaisa. Ito po, kahit na, I will do a quick translation for our guest. This is really our effort. This is one of many centers that we have established all around the country that are attached to the OWA, or the Office of Overseas Workers for the Philippines. And it is really just to facilitate all of the processes that they have to undergo from the very beginning, from the start to from the start of their applications, to make sure that the documentation is in place, that all the needed clearances, permits, etc., they are assisted in acquiring those, and to make their life easier. For this, there have been many cases where Filipinos go abroad, and because of their lack of knowledge or the incompleteness of the process that they have undergone, they run into trouble, and we want to avoid that. One of the real reasons why we started this was because of it was actually the idea of the former DMW Secretary Toots Ople, who unfortunately is no longer with us. But it was her idea, and she said we have to simplify the work, or rather, we have to simplify the process with which we assist our OFWs. Not only in terms of the processes that they have to go through, but more so also, and it became a critical point when it really started with the Arab Spring, when we had to bring many people home. And many of them were very preoccupied, very worried that they would no longer have jobs. And many of them, I remember we were talking to some of our workers in Libya, and over the phone we could hear shooting. And they said, "Is there shooting going on?" And they said, "Yes." And they said, "Actually, we're on the floor talking to you, and there's fighting around us." And here's the thing. And they said, "Do you want to come home?" No. And the reason they didn't want to come home is that they were worried that they would no longer have jobs when they returned. If they came back to the Philippines, that they would have no jobs to return to. And that immediately triggered our thinking. And we said, well, then we must, because just for their safety, that we have to provide them the opportunities. And so that's why the one-stop shop includes retraining, reskilling, upskilling, and to find job placements wherever, not solely in the Philippines, but also abroad. And that's what gave birth to this whole system that we have put together today. And although our ceremonies here, such as they are really rather simple, and the facilities that you see are very straightforward and rather simple, quite pleasant, but nothing overly elaborate. It belies the importance of what we are doing here. Parang if we look at this, we put up a rest area. We have some offices, but the effect of this is going to be very significant in terms of the support that we provide our OFWs. So I'm very happy that we are able to now, especially now that it's Christmas time, simply because at Christmas we all know that as many of our OFWs that can come home do come home. And so we are ready for them when they do come home for whatever their needs might be, so that they may continue in their work or to change and come back home and find work here. So I'm extremely happy that we are here today to have this, to open these facilities. I thank all of you who have played a part in this, and I am very certain that what we have started here today or what we have opened here today will be of great benefit to our OFWs, our heroes of the modern age.
Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on Tuesday, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. and First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos hosted a Christmas gathering in honor of the families of overseas Filipino workers or OFWs, dubbed Pamaskong Handog para sa OFW family at the Heroes Hall in Malacañang Palace. During the program, the President presented certificates of recognition to several OFWs and led the ceremonial turnover of housing units under the Pambansang Pabahay para sa Pilipino or 4PH program. In collaboration with the Department of Migrant Workers or DMW and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration or OWA, this festive event celebrates the dedication and sacrifices of OFWs, recognized as the nation's modern-day heroes. In his speech, the chief executive said a gathering is just one way of showing the government's heartfelt appreciation to all OFWs and their families. President Marcos commended OFWs for their hard work and perseverance as these led to Filipinos being highly reputable and respectable around the globe. The president also thanked OFWs for giving back to the country by sending remittances back to their loved ones, which in turn helped the Philippine economy. Let us listen to the speech of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Salamat po sa inyong pagpunta rito upang sama-sama natin ipagdiwang ang Kapaskuhan. Taong-taon ay inaabangan ng aking pamilya ang panahon na ito dahil naging tradisyon na po namin na buksan ang pinto ng Malacañang sa publiko at maghandog ng simpleng selebrasyon. Bilang nagkakaisang pamilyang Pilipino, ikinalulugod ko pong salubungin kayo, mga minamahal naming OFW, kasama ang inyong pamilya dito sa Malacañang, ang tahanan ng sambayanang Pilipino. Ito pong pagtitipon natin ngayon ay isa sa mga paraan na pagpapaabot ng aming taus-pusong pasasalamat at pagsasaludo sa inyo. Ano man ang inyong mga naging karanasan at pinagdaanan sa labas ng bansa, masaya naman ako na nakauwi kayo lahat na ligtas at kasama nyo muli ang inyong mga mahal sa buhay, lalo na kapag Pasko. Ang mga pamilyang kasama natin ngayon, kabilang ang mga na-repatriate mula sa Israel, sa Lebanon, ay talagang nagbibigay inspirasyon sa ating lahat. Ang inyong tapang at katatagan ay nagsisilbing ilaw ng pag-asa para sa maraming Pilipino. Ang dedikasyon nyo para sa inyong mga pamilya at sa ating bayan ay tunay na binibigyan talaga natin ng halaga. Batid namin na iba't ibang uri ng sakripisyo ang pinagraanan ng ating mga OFW. Una na, ang mamulay sa inyong mga pamilya. Samahan pa ng kalungkutan, dala ng pagka-homesick at pag-adjust sa kultura at klima ng ibang bansa. Ang kapalit naman at bunga ng inyong mga sakripisyo ay isang maganda, komportable at maayos na pamumuhay para sa inyong mga pamilya, pag-asenso ng inyong mga komunidad, at kaunlaran ng ating buong bansa. At maganda na nakapag-perform yung ating mga anak ng OFW. At maalala nga natin, siyempre kinikilala lagi natin ang sakripisyo at ang tapang ng ating mga OFW. Huwag natin sana naman makalimutan, yung mga naiwang pamilya dito sa Pilipinas ay nagsasakripisyo rin. Dahil namimiss kayo at saka isipin nyo, pagka yung mga kabataan, napakahirap naman nagtsatsaga ng walang signal. Parang nakita ko yung mga anak ko, sabi ko, dad, walang internet. Anong gagawin natin? Walang internet. Hindi naman nakakapagtaka. Dahil yan lang ang pamamaraan para makausap kayo, para makipagkwentuhan, makapag-zoom ng konti, di ba? At makapagbate pagka hindi kayo nakakauwi. Dagdag pa riyan, dahil sa inyong mga OFW, mas umangat ang pagkakilala ng galing, sipag at kabaitan ng mga manggagawang Pilipino sa buong mundo. Sa katunayan, maya-maya lamang ay mayroon tayong mga kilalanin na pararangal para sa mga OFW dahil sa ipinakita nilang kahusayan at karapat-dapat na hangaan at tularan. Alam niyo po, pagka ako'y bumabiyahe at nakakausap ko yung mga presidente, yung mga prime minister, yung mga namumuno sa mga iba't ibang bansa, lalong-lalo na kung saan marami ang Pilipino, bago pa ako makapagyabang na sasabihin ang galing ng Pilipino, nauunahan ako. Sila ang nagsasabi sa akin, ang galing ng Pilipino. Kaya't napakaganda. Kung minsan, silang nagkikwento, sabi, na maganda yung example, yung sa video, UAE. Yung sa UAE, galing lang kasi ako dun eh. At nakakilala ko, ang presidente ng UAE, si Sheikh Al-Nahyan, at saka ang kanilang prime minister sa Dubai, si Sheikh Al-Maktoum. Ganun ang sabi sa akin. Sabi nila, laging ganyan, sabi nila kung wala ang Pilipino, hindi naging ganito kasikat ang UAE. At laging ganyan. Sa Saudi Arabia, ganun din ang sinasabi sa akin. Sa London, ganun din ang sinasabi sa akin. Sa England, sa Italy. Kahit saan ako pumunta, ganyan ang sinasabi. At ang kasunod, pagka sinasabi, ang galing ng Pilipino, hangang-hanga kami sa mga Pilipino, gustong-gusto namin. Ito na yung kasunod, meron pa ba? Sinasabi, inuubos nyo lahat ng mga manggagawa namin. Pero ganun kasikat. Ganon kaganda ang reputasyon ng Pilipinas. Ganon kaganda ang reputasyon ng Pilipino. Dahil sa inyo, dahil sa inyong galing, dahil yung pagsisikap, dahil iba ang Pilipino, dahil hindi lamang yung trabaho ang ginagawa. Kung hindi talagang may malasakit. Kung meron kayong alaga, iba ang malasakit na pinapakita ng Pilipino. Tapos ang sipag ng Pilipino, ang galing ng Pilipino, ang daling turuan. At yung ating mga OFW, laging handa kahit nang wala na, hindi nakasama sa trabaho, ginagawa pa rin. Nagbo-volunteer na kung ano-ano. Tapos sabay, hindi lang sa trabaho magbo-volunteer pa para tulungan yung kapwa Pilipino. Kaya napakaganda ang naging reputasyon natin. At hindi ko na kailangan ipagmalaki ang Pilipinas. Ang mundo ang nagmamalaki sa Pilipino sa akin. Kayo ang naging katunayan na kayang-kaya makipagsabayan ng mga Pilipino sa talento, sa talino, sa husay ng mga pinakamagagaling sa buong mundo. Higit pa riyan, ang tulong na inyong ibinabalik sa ating bansa sa pamamagitan ng pagpapadala ng mga remittance ay talaga naman ay hindi mapapantayan. Kaya naman, narito kami upang isulong ang inyong mga karapatan at upang tugunan ang inyong mga pangangailangan. Narito ang ating Department of Migrant Workers, Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, OWA, kasama ang iba't ibang sangay ng pamahalaan. Gayon din ang ating mga konsulado at embahada sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo. Upang siguruhin ang kapakanan ng ating mga OFW, kasama na ang kanilang mga pamilya. Andito yata ang ating mga labor attaché. I think some of them are marami sa, ayan, ito yung mga labor attaché. Ito yung mga, ito yung mga tumutulong sa atin at tinitiyak na kung ano yung mga pangangailangan ninyo. Maraming salamat sa serbisyo ninyo. May mga programang pamahalaan para sa inyo gaya ng mga livelihood program para sa mga balik OFW at paggawad ng scholarship para sa pag-aaral ng inyong mga anak. Noong nakarang linggo ay pinasayanan natin ang groundbreaking ng OFW Hospital, Bagong Pilipinas Cancer Care Center. Ito yung sa Pampanga. Ang layunin nitong ospital na ito ay magbigay ng libreng serbisyong medikal gaya ng chemotherapy, radiotherapy sa mga OFW natin may iniindang na matitinding sakit. Patunay ito sa masinsinang pagtugon ng pamahalaan para sa inyong mga pangangailangan at kaginhawaan. At para naman sa mas komportableng paglalakbay ng mas maraming OFW, nagbukas na rin tayo ng OFW Lounge sa NAIA Terminal 3 na pwede niyong gamitin habang nag-aantay ng inyong mga flight na paalis. Makakaasa kayo na dadagdagan pa ng ating mga OFW sa ilang pang mga international na paliparan dito sa bansa. Upang masiguro na protektado at ligtas na ninirahan ng ating mga kapwa Pilipino sa ibayong dagat, mas pinapaigtin din namin ang kooperasyon at pagkakaroon ng mabuting relasyon sa iba't ibang mga bansa. Bago ako matapos, alalahanin din natin ang ating mga kababayan sa ibang bansa na ngayon ay nagpapasko malayo sa kanilang mga pamilya. Isama natin ang kanilang kaligtasan, ang kapakanan ng bawat Pilipino at ang kapayapaan sa buong mundo sa ating araw-araw na dalangin. Sama-sama tayo tutungo sa isang mas maliwanag, mas masagana at progresibong bagong Pilipinas. Muli, maraming salamat sa lahat ng inyong ginagawa. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng ibinibigay ninyo sa Pilipinas, ang inyong ginagawa upang pagandahin ang pangalan ng Pilipinas, upang patibayin ang ekonomiya ng Pilipinas. At lahat kami naman ay gagawin namin, ay susuklian naman namin ang inyong sakripisyo ng kahit papano lahat ng aming maaring gawin para maging mas ligtas kayo, maging mas maginhawa kayo. At hindi lamang ang mga OFW, kundi pati na ang inyong mga pamilya. Yan po, lahat yan ay gagawin namin para sa inyo.
You just heard Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Dateline Malacañang.
The country's biggest Philippine offshore gaming operator or POGO compound located in the province of Cavite was shut down Tuesday. Philippine Department of the Interior and Local Government or DILG Secretary John Vic Remulla, Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission or PAOC Executive Director Undersecretary Gilbert Cruz, Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation or PAGCOR Chairperson Alejandro Tenco, and Philippine National Police or PNP Chief General Romel Francisco Marbil led the formal closure of the POGO compound located at the former Island Cove Resort in Kawit Town. The Remulla family sold the resort to a real estate developer in 2017, which led to the opening of the Pogo Hub in 2019. Remulla certified the shutdown of the facility after the local government confirmed that it ceased operation on November 30. During the ceremonial closure of the Pogo compound, Remulla said concerned government agencies will follow the directive of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. to close all Pogos. Secretary Remulla said there is no more power supply in the buildings nor signs of business activities since November. The Pogo facility on the 33-hectare property is the biggest in the country, with 30,000 employees, half of whom were Filipinos. The compound consists of 57 buildings, including employee dormitories, gaming hubs, cafes, groceries, clinic, restaurants, spas, and beauty salons. Remulla added that the Department of Labor and Employment or DOLE and the Department of Trade and Industry or DTI are setting up job fairs for displaced workers or Filipino workers so they can find new jobs.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Philippine House Senior Deputy Majority Leader and presidential son, Sandro Marcos, on Tuesday expressed his full support for Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s position on the proposed 6.352 trillion pesos national budget for 2025 amid scrutiny over certain items. In an ambush interview, Marcos said he supports his father in whatever he says and whatever he hopes to achieve. His remarks come after the president vowed on Monday to thoroughly review the proposed national budget, particularly items described as worrisome. The chief executive also reiterated his commitment to signing the budget before Christmas. One of the key points of contention in the 2025 budget is the zero subsidy allocation for the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth. President Marcos defended the decision, citing the state insurer's 500 billion pesos reserve funds. House Assistant Majority Leader Jude Asidre said the funds cut from Philippine Health Insurance Corporation or PhilHealth were reallocated to government hospitals, specialty centers, and medical infrastructure projects to benefit indigent patients directly. Asidre said Congress determined PhilHealth had sufficient funds for 2025, citing inefficiencies in the agency's financial management. Zambales Representative Jefferson Kong-hoon noted that the state insurer had unused allocations amounting to 20 billion pesos.
Dateline Malacañang.
The House of Representatives on Tuesday approved on final reading a bill allowing foreign investors to lease private lands in the Philippines for 99 years. Voting 175 against 3 and 2 abstentions, House Bill or HB 1055 that Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez principally authored addresses the concern of foreign capitalists regarding the shorter rental period under the current law, which is 50 years with renewal for an additional 25 years. The bill is among the priority measures of the Legislative Executive Development Authority Council or LEDAC. The proposal, Romualdez added, also aligns with the Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s open door policy for legitimate foreign capital and with existing practices in many countries in the region. HB 10755 provides it is state policy to encourage foreign investments consistent with the constitutional mandate to conserve and develop the nation's patrimony. It declares that the state adopts a flexible and dynamic policy on the granting of long-term leases on private lands to foreign investors for the establishment of industrial estates, factories, assembly or processing plants, agro-industrial enterprises, land development for industrial or commercial use, tourism, agriculture, agroforestry, ecological conservation, and other similarly productive endeavors. The bill further declares that it is state policy to ensure the reliability of investors' lease contracts to guarantee stability and return of investment. On Monday, the Senate approved its version, Senate Bill 2898, or the Investors Lease Act.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, Mary Jane Veloso finally returned home Wednesday morning after spending nearly 15 years in prison in Indonesia for alleged drug trafficking. In a news release, the Philippine Bureau of Corrections or Bucor said Veloso arrived at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport or NAIA Terminal 3 in Pasay City at around 5:51 in the morning on board Cebu Pacific Flight 5J760. The Bucor said Veloso's flight departed the Soekarno-Hatta International Airport in Jakarta at 12:05 in the morning, marking the end of a harrowing chapter of Veloso's life. Upon arrival at the airport, Veloso was immediately brought to the Correctional Institution for Women in Mandaluyong City, where she will be mandatorily housed at the Reception and Diagnostic Center for 5-day quarantine and a 55-day orientation, diagnostic evaluation, and initial security classification. Bigor Director General Gregorio Pio Catapang Jr. said Veloso during the flight was not in a handcuff or subjected to any instrument of restraint, citing the rules of general application of the standard minimum rules for the treatment of prisoners as adopted by the First United Nations Congress on the Prevention of Crime and the Treatment of Offenders. Katapang assured Veloso's family that after the quarantine period for a new person deprived of liberty, where she will undergo a comprehensive medical and physical examination, they would get to visit her in time for Christmas. He said Veloso's return can be attributed to the collaborative efforts of various government agencies under the leadership of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. Veloso was jailed in 2010 and was sentenced to death in the same year after 2.6 kilograms of heroin was found in her suitcase. She was given a last-minute reprieve in April 2015 when Manila informed Jakarta that her recruiters surrendered. In a media interview at the NAIA arrival area, Mary Jane's mother, Celia, reiterated her appeal to President Marcos to grant her daughter clemency. Veloso earlier thanked Marcos and Indonesian President Prabowo as well as all those who facilitated her transfer to Manila.
Dateline Malacañang.
Still on the Veloso case, the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said Tuesday night, the return of Mary Jane Veloso to the country is a triumph for diplomacy and a reflection of the good relations between the Philippines and Indonesia. At a press conference ahead of her flight to the Philippines, DFA Undersecretary for Migration Eduardo Jose de Vega thanked the Indonesian government and assured that Manila will abide by the practical arrangement reached on Veloso's case. Veloso thanked Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto, President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr., as well as all those who facilitated her transfer to Manila after facing death penalty in a Southeast Asian state since 2010. Upon her arrival in the Philippines on Wednesday morning, she was brought to the Correctional Institution for Women in Mandaluyong City. Indonesia's Coordinating Ministry for Legal Human Rights, Immigration and Correction earlier said Jakarta would approve her transfer to the Philippines once its conditions are met, including having Veloso serve the remainder of her sentence. Upon her transfer, the ministry said the decision on whether to grant remission or pardon would then rest with the head of state. Veloso was jailed in 2010 and was sentenced to death in the same year after 2.6 kilograms of heroin was found in her suitcase. She was given a last-minute reprieve in April 2015 when Manila informed Jakarta that her recruiters surrendered. At the time, 8 other drug convicts, 7 foreigners, and 1 Indonesian were executed by firing squad.
Dateline Malacañang.
Finally, for Dateline Malacañang, the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, said a future Philippine-Japanese Reciprocal Access Agreement, or RAA, would not only boost the already robust security cooperation between the two states, but also help contribute to regional peace and security. DFA Secretary Enrique Manalo, in a statement on Tuesday, said as the security environment in the region is increasingly challenging, the DFA believes the RAA between the Philippines and Japan will firmly contribute towards maintaining a secure and peaceful Asia-Pacific. Manalo said the Military Access Pact will serve as a strategic framework for the Philippines to enhance its defense capabilities, promote regional stability, and bolster its position in the ongoing maritime disputes. The RAA, he said, would also reflect a natural progression of cooperation between the armed forces and the Japan Self-Defense Force, from humanitarian assistance and disaster relief activities to other aspects of capability and capacity building. The RAA, signed on July 8 in Manila, outlines the provisions on entry and departure, movement, access to facilities, and professional practice of the visiting force and civilian component for cooperative activities, as well as the rules governing the jurisdiction over the actions of the visiting force and civilian component. Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. ratified the agreement on November 5, 2024. The Senate concurred with the ratification on Monday. In a separate statement, Japanese Ambassador Endo Kazuya conveyed his heartfelt appreciation for the Senate's unwavering support of the RAA.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that is all for today's Dateline Malacañang for Radyo Pilipinas World Service. This has been Gaza-de Guzman.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.